The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show on the Belly Up Sports Network. We are basically a weekend. I know that hasn't been a full week, but basically a weekend on real baseball, and we've got a ton of things to discuss tonight. I'm Vince Stover. I'm joined, as I am every week, by the senior fantasy writer at bellyupsports.com, the one and only Kevin Wilson. Kev, have you been enjoying baseball this weekend?
I have been enjoying it very much. And I understand that there were some issues with MLB TV that didn't affect me. So fortunately, that was not the case here. And had some Rangers going on here. Yeah. And so live baseball and the weekend, and what more could one ask for?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch much basketball this weekend because I was watching baseball. On the opening day, I had it on ESPN Plus to watch the Brewers and the Yankees, the one good game of the series. And then the rest of the week, I had the big inning on where you go watch, they got four screens up at one time doing different things. And so I was not impacted by that either. I understand the frustration, of course, by it. But nonetheless, lots of baseball this week and a lot of good stuff that went down this week, and a lot of really disappointing things from a Brewers fan's perspective as well. But today we've got a great slate of topics for us. We're talking about overreactions to these first few games. We're also going to be discussing the Yankees going off, and we'll talk about everything around that. Other Major League Baseball news, including the Profar suspension that just went down just a couple hours ago. And then we're going to give waiver wire advice. We're going to do that every single week. We're going to give you additions and subtractions, people you should add this week and people you should get rid of. And I have one guy this week we'll discuss at that point that I just say, don't pick him up yet, but here's a name. Keep an eye on him.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Let's get into segment number one. We call it the Fantasy Burner. Our Fantasy Burner is presented by BellyUpSports.com, and man, the articles are flying. There's all kinds of stuff coming out on the website right now. Baseball, of course, is leading the way at the moment, but there is football articles. There's some basketball articles, hockey articles. Everything's out there. Check it out, BellyUpSports.com, and it's where you find all of Kevin Wilson's articles as well. All right, today we're overreacting to things that we've seen since opening day, and I don't know. I got three positive overreactions and two negative overreactions, Kevin.
Okay.
And again, you asked me earlier this week, you messaged me and you said, are you going to overreact on Cortez? And my response was, no, I'm going to properly react to Nestor Cortez. And I plan on talking about him more in segment 2 and segment 3, spoiler alert.
Okay.
What are you overreacting to starting since Thursday?
It's almost you don't know where to start, but I'm going to start off with Raphael Devers.
Okay.
Up there in Boston, and of course he is now the designated hitter.
Yes.
Only problem is he's not hitting, and so
the designated striker out.
Yeah. Really, he's not hitting, and he became the first player to strike out 10 times in the first 3 games. Then he upped that by striking out 12 times because he struck out 2 more times yesterday.
Yep.
Then today he struck out 3 more times. So this dude has struck out 15 times in a 5-game stretch. And so they're all been on the road. He's had some shoulder issues, and I would not be surprised if he winds up on the IL because obviously he needs more time with the bat. And so if I'm in a league with someone, well, we are in leagues, someone has him.
Yeah.
You can be sure of that. And I would check the temperature of whomever does have him.
Yeah.
And if they're getting to the point where they're getting ready to totally freak out, there's an offer coming.
Yes.
Because I would want him on my team.
Yeah, I've got an offer out in one of our leagues.
So
yeah.
I don't know if you overreaction or just reaction here, but you have to. There has to be a reaction because there's something seriously going wrong with this situation right here, and so you have to look at it and maybe if an overreaction is to go out and get him. Okay. I'm not too sure, but I would not overreact if I did have him.
Sure.
So that's where I'm looking at this, and he's got a track record, and we know he can hit the baseball.
Yeah.
It's just when is that going to happen? And if this continues, I would seek him out.
Anything involving a swing is at least 50% mental, if not more. You go to golfers, you go to kickers, you go to baseball hitters, and you look at the last several weeks since the signing of Bregman, you've not heard anything positive come from Devers or his camp. Not a single thing.
No.
He has been what appears to be pouting. He wasn't happy that they signed him. And then it was, well, he's going to play second base. And then he still wasn't happy. And then it started to get a little bit more murkier from the Red Sox side. And we're going to do what's best for our team. And then the next thing you know, Devers is the DH. Bregman's the third baseman. And anyone with a brain understands that's the best thing for Boston to do. But when you're talking about the mental aspect of this, Devers he's hurt, disappointed, whatever it may be. And now you're asking him to go out there and do one of the hardest things there is to do in sports, hit a baseball. And, it hasn't worked. So until he gets his mind right, it's probably and his mind's going to get worse the more he strikes out. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, I think you're looking at, you want an overreaction. Boston doesn't keep him. They got to get rid of him. They're going to send him off. Think about guys, not the same talent level, but if you remember 3 years ago, maybe for the White Sox, and they had as their catcher, right, Mercedes, that was going nuts. And then he hit a home run that was against the unwritten rules of baseball, and his manager came out and trashed him for it. And then next thing you know, he's not playing. He's out of the league because he can't play. He's not any good anymore. So the mental thing can play a big role. Devers is a way better talent than he was, but the mental has to get right for Devers, for sure. Let me stick to the Boston Red Sox. Waiver Abreu is the best fantasy player on the Boston Red Sox. There's my overreaction for this week. What Abreu did, and we'll talk about him when we get to our ads, even though he's not technically going to fit into that because he's been added by a lot of people. I'll give you some more stats on him later on in the show. But Waiver Abreu has come out hot. He hit the 2 home runs on opening day. Since then, not necessarily a home run machine, but he's still playing really good baseball. When you look at consistency, you're looking at the Red Sox. You go, well, Devers isn't playing well. Bregman's doing fine. But I look at it and say, for the rest of this season, Waiver Abreu is the best Red Sox fantasy player out there. And that's my overreaction for him.
Okay. Fair enough. I like that because I saw that you picked him up. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not an overreaction to go and get this guy.
No.
And so
I drafted him in one league. I did get him in one league at like 267 overall. And actually, when I came across him in that league, I was kind of like, wait, what's he still doing available? I was a little surprised he was available. Then we looked at the numbers. We'll talk about it in segment 3. But the numbers were nuts for how unrostered he was to start off this season. Not that I saw this coming, but I thought he should be drafted and was surprised by how low he was. So anyways, yes, he's on it and ready to roll for Boston, which is good for Boston because they need somebody to go out there and hit some baseballs. All right, who else you got?
Okay, so then we're going to go over to the Braves hitters in general. Okay, there's one that we'll talk about in the next segment, so I won't get into that just yet. But okay, so Riley is hitting 143, Olsen 167, Ozuna 222, Albies 133, Harris 067, Arcia's 200, Kalinick is 154, and Trump is 000, has no hits. And we talked about Mr. Trump and the fact that he's a great prospect. And so if you're in a dynasty league like we are, the other league is a dynasty league, might want to hold on to this guy. But if you're not, my overreaction is he needs to go and go immediately. And so, I know catchers, you don't want to, get too crazy about catchers, but no. He needs to go until this lineup starts to hit better. Okay. So if he's on your roster, get rid of him. Get rid of him today. And
pitchers, we'll talk about this a little bit in segment 3 also, but they're so replaceable. If your catcher's not doing well, unless you've got a top-tier catcher, top 4, top 5 catcher, your Contreras from Milwaukee, Rushman, Perez, maybe Will Smith, like Cal Raleigh probably you'd hold on to, but pretty much outside of those guys, you're going to go ahead and move on from any catcher that's not doing well, replace them with someone who is, and that'll be a rotation for you all year long. So, yeah, I like that. All right, Kevin, you're going to love this overreaction.
Okay,
I
go
know
ahead.
that you 100% agree with me on this. Cedric Mullins is back. I mean, we're talking about all-star outfielder. We're talking about best player on the Baltimore, or well, maybe not there, but Cedric Mullins' fantasy relevancy is back after a couple-year absence. We've got him in 5 games so far this season. He's got 10 RBIs, including 5 on opening day and 4 today. 2 home runs. Those were both opening day. 1 stolen base. Listen, I know it's an overreaction, but Cedric Mullins is a guy that I've kind of went to bat for over the last year or so, and you've kind of been on the fence of more on the side of, no, I'm moving on to somebody else in the outfield. Do you feel like Cedric Mullins is finding some consistency starting off this new season?
Okay, I like that. Sometimes you're just wrong. And so far, I have been wrong about him. So, okay.
All right. Who else you got?
So I am going to overreact to a player that you and I were both down on big time.
Okay.
And that player is Ryan Pepiot down there in Tampa.
Yeah.
Neither of us want him. Nope. But I would say that he is the pitcher that you most want to go out and get, because he faces the Pittsburgh Pirates on Wednesday in his next start. There's not an easier landing spot to come into a season than to pitch against the Colorado Rockies when they're on the road, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I'm going to overreact and say, go and get him. He pitches on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this between now and Wednesday, go and get Ryan Pepiot for that start on Wednesday. And then I'm going to overreact to say that if he does pitch well in that game, I'm going to try and unload him after that.
I like that strategy. I know this is an overreaction thing, so I'm not arguing with you, but I'm out still on Pepiot.
Okay. So I'm overreacting.
I remember last season we had a discussion, and I'm trying to remember who it was on. I think it was on the Rangers pitcher that I hate so much.
John Gray.
Yes, and your argument was matchup. He's got a good matchup, and I said, I'm still out. No, you're not getting me. Well, then he went off and had a huge game in the matchup. And so Kevin is smart in what he's talking about on these things. I'm still not doing it. I'm still not buying Ryan Pepiot, but I like the idea of, hey, get him in the good matchups and then maybe turn him around for value afterwards. I like that, Kevin. I like that. Yeah. All right, overreaction. I wanted to give 2 more.
Okay.
Devin Williams, not a top 10 relief pitcher in fantasy baseball this season. I watched opening day, and I had someone else text me that as Williams was imploding out there on the mound, seemingly imploding, and he texted me. He said, "You told me, you warned me," and I had a conversation with this guy back. Let's see here in February, and we were talking fantasy baseball, and we were sitting around chatting about different things, and he asked me about Devin Williams. I said, "Listen," I said, he's not that elite closer, and he's going to have some pretty bad outings at times. Now he ended up saving it. He ended up getting the outs that he needed, but he got every Yankees fan on opening day. He got their heart beating fast as he almost blew that save, which would have been just wonderful. But that being said, this is an overreaction, people. Devin Williams, not a top 10 relief pitcher by season's end. Any thoughts on that one, Kevin?
I agree with that. Maybe if things look like, because they're going to score 10 runs a game, the Yankees, I mean.
Right.
And so maybe he won't have as many opportunities as we might thought.
Good point. See, that's not where I was going with it, but that's a great point. Yeah.
And so when he is in there, he could be wild as any of the rest of these guys. So if I overreact, yes. If I get an offer that I like, and we talked about this last week, where if you have a pitcher that's a relief pitcher, trade him and get some of these other guys, maybe somebody that's a hitter, pitcher, whatever, and pick up some of these hold guys.
Yeah,
you'll get further on that. So I would certainly agree with that overreaction that trade Devin Williams while you can.
Yeah, I like it. All right, you got one more for me?
I have one more, and the Dodgers are off to a 5-0 start, which I'm definitely with. Okay, but my overreaction is that Roki Sasaki, is going to be a bust this year. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because he has walked. Let me see, 9 base on balls in 2 games and 4 2/3 innings.
Yikes!
He can't get the ball over the plate. Okay, and so, and if you remember last year when it was in the Dodgerville and in the first game and in Korea and how he looked, but he straightened that out in a hurry.
Yeah,
this is not happening with Sasaki, and so I know he pitched against the Tigers. That's a rough, but you can't. The Tigers weren't hitting the ball because he wasn't putting it over the plate. Yeah. So if I had Roki Sasaki, I would be looking to deal him before it completely falls off.
Okay. My last one is a guy that I love, Jackson Chourio, a bust, fantasy bust. He was drafted. I had him in leagues where he went in the first round, and if he didn't go in the first, he went in the second in many of these leagues. I think I got him in one league in the 4th round, maybe 3rd or 4th, which was decent value. But he was looked at as one of these top outfielders coming into the season, and so far it's been ugly. A lot of strikeouts. He's only got 2 hits on the season. No, I'm sorry. He's got 4 hits on the season now. He got his 2nd RBI of the season today in the loss at Kansas City. On Friday was the only night that he had positive fantasy points so far in the 4 games he's played. So if you have Jackson Chourio and you're in my league, go ahead and trade him to me. He's a bust. You don't want him. And I'll take him for you. Overreaction, again, we'll talk about it here in just a moment. What to think of the Brewers so far and what it looks like for the season. Do you think Jackson Chourio is going to be a fantasy bust this season?
I didn't like where he was going in drafts. You were going to have to go way higher than I was willing to go. Sure. He still has a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And so
he's 21 years old.
And he's 21 years old. So back over in our Dynasty League, if you want to trade me Jackson Chourio, you go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I will do that. And because we've seen it with the other Jackson over there in Baltimore, who was absolutely awful a year ago, but he's hitting the ball this year.
Yeah.
And so that young of a player, if you want to trade him to me in Dynasty, I'll go for it. But I'm not willing to give anything worthwhile in our main league just because the Brewers are going to have to show me something because it's not looking good.
All right, we'll talk about that in the next segment. This is our Fantasy Burner segment presented by Belly Up Sports. Check it out, bellyupsports.com. Let's go into segment number 2. We call it the Hot Corner. The Hot Corner is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code BELLYUP. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. I want to give you a few stats here, Kevin, before we get into all the topics and some things that happened this week. Shortest start by a starter happened down there in Texas. Tyler Mahle went 1.2 innings, and that was, I believe, Saturday. Longest start so far of the season. We got 4 guys that went 7.0 innings. Framber Valdez, Logan Gilbert, Nick Pivetta, and Jose Siriano. The 4 starting pitchers going 7 full innings in the opening weekend. We've had 2 position players already pitch this season. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim ran out a position player in Game 1, opening day against the White Sox. Ran out a position player. Milwaukee also sent out a position player in the day that we like to call D-Day because New York absolutely bombarded the Brewers with home runs this whole week. But anyways, they ran out Bauer. He actually improved his ERA, by the way, in his appearance this week. Leader, this was stats coming into Monday, so I did not count the Monday stats in this. So in the opening weekend, O'Neal Cruz led Major League Baseball with 4 stolen bases. Aaron Judge and Eugenio Suarez led Major League Baseball with 4 home runs. Aaron Judge led MLB with 11 RBIs. Marcell Ozuna led the Major League Baseball with 7 walks. And as you brought up earlier, Raphael Devers, he had 12 strikeouts coming into the day. That number has gone up. I want to start with the Yankees and Brewers because I've not had a chance to voice my frustration just yet. But I want to get your thoughts on that 3-game series that just, I mean, all right, so I'll tell you this. I was listening to the radio Saturday morning. I turned on the game. I was excited. Nestor Cortez, we'll see what he can do, whatever. So I got it on. I'm listening to it through the MLB app. And Nestor Cortez, they're doing all this introduction I'm listening to the Brewers broadcast. All this, talking about the game, whatever. All right, here comes the first pitch. And, deep fly ball, gone. Like, oh, man, that stinks. But it happens, right? There's times, first pitch, it happens, whatever. Next guy steps up, first pitch, boom, it's gone. I'm sitting there going, oh, man, that's rough for Nestor. That's got to stink. Third batter, third pitch, home run. I said, what are we doing? What are we doing? And of course, I said I'll use the word controversy. It's not about the bats. And as I put out there, I forget who it was that put it out there on social media. They were asking, is it Bush League for the Yankees? No, if it's legal, it's not Bush League. And it appears to be legal because Major League Baseball hasn't done anything. So all the parameters of a bat seem to have been met. And so I, as a Brewers fan, and as what I'd like to consider to be a professional media personality, I'm not going to overreact to the bats because they're legal. And now everyone has them, for the most part, they're getting them. And we haven't seen anyone launch 9 home runs in a game like the Yankees did. I'm interested to see if this continues for the Yankees, especially at home, or if, did we learn more about the Yankees or more about the Brewers in this series? That's what I'm trying to get to, Kevin. Who do we learn the most about in this series?
Well, I think that we, unfortunately, for you, I think we learned more about the Brewers.
Okay.
And because it's really telling to me that I don't want to say the one, but one of the players that's not using those bats is Aaron Judge. And as you just mentioned, he leads the league in RBI.
Yeah.
So he was hitting the ball. We know he can hit the ball. He doesn't need one of those bats, so he's good to go. And everything, because I've done some research about it, because all these guys were pretty much falling all over themselves. Oh, the Yankees are cheating, blah 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 blah, which they are not, and they're not the only team that's using these bats. Not a lot, I guess. They're not. The Yankees almost en masse are using them, but they're completely within the legal limits, kind of like the tush push over there in the NFL. And people want to ban that. And there's a push to ban this. If they ban them, okay, but they're legal. So you got to figure out a way to make sure that the bat doesn't hit the baseball. So this is a whole big Milwaukee. They went out today and they got blasted.
Yeah,
and it wasn't by the Yankees. So this is looking bad already for the Brewers. And so I'm not gonna, Yankees. I can never say anything really positive about them. But
let's
they did it. They did it. So
yeah,
give them props.
Well, I mean, we knew they were going to be a good offensive team.
That's right.
We didn't see 9 home runs in a game coming, whatever. No. So my question with the Yankees is, I want to get back to the Brewers too, but about the Yankees is, like, are they going to average 7 runs a game this season? Like, is their offense that good? Or did they just get fortunate to go up against a pitching staff that wasn't ready for them?
Well, it's interesting to me because they've got Paul Goldschmidt leading off for them.
They're doing that against what, lefties?
I guess.
It's against what is Cortez? I forget. Whatever he is.
He's led off more than one game for them.
Yeah.
And I would have never thought, you and I both talked about Goldschmidt. Neither one of us thought he was going to be all that because he's a right-handed hitter, but they've got him batting leadoff, and he's hitting the ball like he did a couple of years ago when he was right there with the MVP of the National League. So you've got that. You've got Anthony Volpe hitting the ball all over the place. You've got Chisholm hitting the ball all over the place.
Yes, but again, it's against one team. So like if he did it against the A's, or he did it against the Rockies, or he did it against the White Sox, we wouldn't be like, wow, this is incredible, impressive at least. They did it against the Brewers. The Brewers pitching staff is beat up. They've already got, other than Freddie Peralta, they got 2 starters that are down. They've got, another 2 or 3 guys that could start that are not able to pitch yet. Quintana, who they acquired, is still ramping up. So, like today, it was a minor league player that's not even a starting pitcher that came out and pitched the opening for them for a couple of innings, that kind of stuff. So, we can give the Yankees their props, and I'm fine with that. But my question is are they going to average this against every team? And not 9 home runs in a game, but
no, of course
are they going to average 7 runs a game? Or was this just purely when they get another pitcher and they're going to go up against another team this week, they'll come back to earth?
Well, every team and hitter goes through these stages where they can't get a base hit.
Right.
Look at Aaron Judge. During the most important time for a player to get a base hit was in the playoffs, and he was invisible.
Yeah.
So, we're going to overreact just like we were doing earlier, but we'll see about this. And of course, they have to hit the road. They know how to hit in that stadium, so we'll see how things work. But I think this offense could be one of the best. We already knew it was one of the best, but it could be the best in the American League. And so they might average 5-6 runs per game. And so if they can do that, it's going to be pretty tough for the rest of the American League East.
Yeah. They're starting off. They got a series against the Diamondbacks starting tomorrow, and then the Pirates and Tigers follow that. I'm intrigued to see if it continues. If the hitting continues, or if it was legitimately just the Brewers were that bad, which is very, very possible what we've been seeing.
Well, maybe we could take another look, in our next show, because you and I both like the Diamondbacks pitching staff.
Right. Yeah.
And so if they go in there and get blown up,
yeah,
that would tell us one thing. So we'll see what what the next show brings around. I'm looking forward to the Diamondbacks are a team that you and I are both excited about.
Yeah.
And they put 8 runs in 1 inning yesterday.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's going to be a great series to watch.
On the Brewers side of things, the offense hasn't been horrible. It's just the pitching has been so bad. And I know Pat Murphy, the manager, he's saying, listen, we're hurt. Like, we're beat up. There's no doubt about it. Like, what happened in New York, what happened today emotionally, just, for once, they've been taking gut shots, and body blows. And they got to figure a way to get out of it. And they do not have the pitching to do that. And so, how long is it going to take them? How long is it going to take for Woodruff to get back? When Quintana comes in to pitch, is he going to be good enough? Are we going to see some of these minor leaguers coming up that we've been told are really, really good? That's what I put out there today. The AAA best pitcher, top pitching prospect right now for Milwaukee. He got a National Player of the Week in the minors, and I said, seems like a guy that the Brewers could really use right about now. So, it doesn't look like it's going to be pretty. Now, granted, the Brewers will get to play the Cubs, so that'll make it easier. And they'll get to play the Pirates, and they'll get to play the Cardinals, who started off really well. And they'll get to play these teams that are not the Yankees. And Kansas City's a really good baseball team, too. They took him to the woodshed. But like I said, they started Elvin Rodriguez, his first Major League Baseball start, and they never intended him to go very deep into this game. And they actually probably had him go deeper because he was getting rocked a little bit. And they didn't want to put out more arms. They wanted just to get through this game and hopefully get on some sort of a solid rotation moving forward. So today was a loss again for Milwaukee. It was an ugly loss for Milwaukee. That being said, Jackson Chourio hasn't found his groove yet, of course. But some of the other guys, Ortiz is playing decent. Terang's playing decent. Third base is not a problem like I thought it was going to be up to this point of the year, which is just a few games. So we'll see it all shake out. Next week will be for everyone. Will be a better read on where all the teams are, having 3 series under their belt by the time we talk next week. I want to talk about Matt McLain because he's a guy that we talked about this offseason when we did our rankings, Cincinnati Reds second baseman, and injured all last season. We were really high on him coming into last season. He got injured right before the season. Didn't play at all last year. Kevin, you and I were both pretty high on him coming into this year. Felt like he was going to have a good bounce back. So far, in 4 games, he has 3 home runs and 5 RBIs. Outside of the opening day going 0 for 5, he's looked pretty solid since then. And I have to admit, I'm glad I've got him on my rosters that I have him on. I think Matt McLain is going to be picking up right where he was in 2020. What was that, 3, I guess? Yeah. What do you think about Matt McLain so far?
Well, as you mentioned, both of us were very high on him. And I know in the mock drafts that I was doing, I was winding up with him more times than not because I really liked that, first of all, where he hits, as far as ballpark.
Right.
And then he's got second base and shortstop eligibility. So I like that. And I like the lineup that he's in. And so I'm not surprised that he's doing this, and you got to him before I did in our draft.
Yeah.
So, hey, yay for you on that, because I would love to have him on my roster. So if you drafted him, just praise Olatoli that you wound up with him on your roster. So good on you.
Let's talk about winless teams. As of this show, it's currently 7:35 Central Time on Monday. Boston got their first win today, so they're not winless anymore. Detroit, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Milwaukee. If you were to tell me that these 4 teams were winless coming into Monday, I would have, compared to some teams, Angels, White Sox, A's, going, okay, really? These 4 teams? Detroit's a team that I'm super high on. We like. Minnesota, I can't say that I'm high on Minnesota, but I thought they'd win a game. Milwaukee, I thought they'd win a game. And Atlanta, surely, I thought they were going to win a game with the pitching that they've got going on as well. We've talked a lot about Milwaukee already, so let's go Detroit, Minnesota, and Atlanta. Which one are you most concerned about of these winless teams?
Well, the one that I would be most concerned about would be the Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
Because we didn't think much of St. Louis.
Right.
Coming into the season, but they swept them.
Yeah.
That's true. All these teams were all on the road, so that's first. And so, but the Tigers played the Dodgers in LA, and they actually played well.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts just happened to hit 2 home runs after, maybe he got some milkshakes or, some sort of something that they were putting IVs through his veins because there was really concerned about him, and he went out and hit 2 home runs on Friday night.
Yeah.
And so I'm not that concerned about the Tigers. We know that the Atlanta Braves, well, there's concern now because their leadoff hitter is suspended for 80 games.
Yeah.
That does not help. And but they started in San Diego. That's not an easy place to play. So I'm willing to, we all think they're going to hit regardless of suspensions or whatever else. So I'm not throwing up my my hands on them. But the Twins, you've got to win more. You got to win a game at least when you're playing St. Louis, who I thought was going to be at the bottom of that division. And so I'm really concerned about Minnesota, their pitching staff. They got it wasn't good, and so I wasn't that high on Minnesota, but in that division you could finish like we talked about. They could have finished third. They could have finished fifth. But looks like they're going to be way back there in last right now. So they've got to get it going and get it going soon.
Yeah, I think I'm probably most concerned about Atlanta just because of the division they're in. Listen, it's a long season. It'd be an overreaction to say, oh, no, they can't catch up. But that'd be ridiculous. But they're in a division where Philadelphia knows going to be strong, where the Mets are going to figure out some things, where I think Washington is improved, and where Miami looks improved. And I know they looked good to start the season last year, too. So we're not super worried about Miami. But that would be my concern there for sure. They have a management that will go out and make sure they're okay on their roster. So as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to figure things out roster-wise. But still, I'd say I'm a little bit more concerned about Atlanta right now. Minnesota, I was already not super high on, so I feel like, I don't know. Losing to St. Louis, getting swept by St. Louis is not good. That's for sure. But again, you answered a lot deeper than I thought you were going to, because my thought is it's 3 games, it's 4 games, and it's the start of the season. We'll just give it some time, right? I like to give it 2 weeks, and I feel like everything after 2 weeks. At least know a lot more after 2 weeks as well. Undefeated teams, we talked about the Yankees already enough. They're the only American League team to be undefeated at this point. St. Louis is 3-0. You just mentioned them. And then the Dodgers and the Padres. Dun, dun, dun. Nick Pivetta looked amazing. You look out there in the West. The West was an interesting division all last year with the Padres and the Diamondbacks kind of underachieving for most part. The Giants kind of was sniffing around a little bit down there with those 2 teams. And you come into this season, and right off the bat, you got Dodgers 5-0, San Diego 4-0, San Francisco 2-1, Arizona 2-2, Rockies 1-3. So, again, in my opinion, we're still so early on. There's so little you can say about this, but sweeping is a big deal. And the Dodgers swept 2 teams to start off this season. Granted, you don't get to play the Cubs every day, but they got to play them first, swept them as well. So, of these teams, I think St. Louis is the most surprising, right?
Absolutely, because like we said earlier, neither you or I were down with, Minnesota's losing to Eric Fetty. Okay, that's a problem. So, I hope nothing against Eric Fetty. I hope he pitches well the rest of the year, or whatever. But you've got to put something more on the board against him than the Twins did. And I was thinking that maybe the Padres weren't going to be as good as maybe we thought they would, but it's looking good so far.
Yeah, swept the Braves.
And, yeah, they swept the Braves. And they kept the Braves bats under control. Profar, we didn't know he was popping pills or whatever it was he's doing over there. But that did not help because he was hitting 200. So the PEDs weren't helping him a whole lot. And so let me just say, because if you had Jurickson Profar and he's a player I liked coming into the season, drop him. Fantasy advice, drop him immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. There's no reason to hold on to that guy. You can't put him on an IL spot. So he's out for half the season. At least, 80 games is half the season. And so he won't be back until later in July. So you don't need him on your fantasy team. Drop him regardless of what kind of league you're in. Drop him today.
Yeah, definitely. When you go back to the Braves, you see the Dodgers sweep them. Schwellenbach had a great outing. He went 6 innings, up any earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and he walked only 1. So great performance for him. Bullpen couldn't win at the end of the day there. The other guys, though, Chris Sale, he went 5 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, not horrible. Lopez didn't like his outing, 9 hits, 3 earned runs. Was not a fan of that outing at all. He's on 2 of my fantasy teams. And then Smith Scheuer, who I actually I thought he was going to have himself a nice little season this year. He's worrying me right now. He only went 4 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts there as well. So Sale and Schwellenbach, still believe in those 2 guys. And the Padres, though, they did what they had to do to win that series, and they did it fairly convincingly as well. So you mentioned the Profar, drop him if you're in fantasy. You got him. I had him in 2 leagues. He's available on the waiver wire as we speak because of that. No reason to hold on to him. I just assumed with all these guys hitting 2 home runs on opening day, I figure we're going to have a lot of people with P-tests. Profar did not hit 2 home runs on opening day. Still tested positive. I gotta believe the Yankees locker room was having just cups being passed around. Hey, pee in this for me, please. I'm guessing they got drug tested like crazy after this weekend.
I would imagine so. Even though it's supposed to be, random and whatever.
Yeah.
They loaded the dice so that they would roll up, Yankees. And so like I said, I loathe to say anything positive about the Yankees, but it's Brent, I'm sure he's extraordinarily happy over there.
Yeah.
What can you do? 9 home runs in 1 game. Okay. It's not going to happen every game, but their offense is super tuned. I like what they can do. I've got Chaz Gism in the league. And so, and he's going to add second, just like we talked about, he is going to be a big time fantasy asset throughout this whole entire season.
I agree. All right. Anything else to cover in this segment?
Oh, I think that we pretty much hit on that. Jose Ramirez. Okay. He's played at 94% of his games since 2016, has a sprained right wrist. It's a mild sprain, but you're going to need to keep an eye out. He was out yesterday. Okay. I did not see before we went live because they're playing in San Diego, which means they start at 9:00 our time. So I imagine he's probably in the lineup. If he is, it's no worries. Okay. But that's a guy that we talked about. He's going to be in the lineup. He's going to play. Yeah. So you might want to keep an eye on him, make sure he's okay.
Yeah. Did you see your boy Freddie Freeman got hurt?
I did see that. And
in the shower, spraining his ankle. So keep an eye out.
Yeah,
that's repaired ankle.
Yeah, the ankle thing was a problem for him last year.
Yeah.
So you got to hope that he's okay. And
maybe we've got some first baseman for you that you can pick up as we talk about our next segment, just in case. Just in case.
I'm willing to bet to say that we do.
All right. All right, that's our hot corner. It's presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Go to righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP. You get 15% off your purchase.
Oh, we might also want to mention that today is the A's home opener versus the Cubs, no less.
Yep.
In Sacramento.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting to see. And speaking of the Cubs, you might want to get that segment that you had going on last year about the curse, because yesterday they allowed the most runs in a comeback situation of any team so far this year, because they were up by 4 runs and then gave up 8 in 1 inning.
Yeah.
So if that's not cursed, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Don't anger the baseball gods.
That's for sure.
Let's get to it now. The segment you've all been waiting for, the Fantasy Focus. Fantasy Focus is presented by SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com to get your tickets for the next baseball game you're going to go to. Use the promo code BELLYUPSports. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. In this segment, we're all talking ads and drops. And what I want to do, Kevin, we haven't talked about this off air. So what I want to do with drops, I kind of want us to move through those pretty quickly every week, because at the end of the day, whoever's on your roster, if you're going to add people, you're going to have to figure out who to drop on your roster as well. You mentioned Profar. That probably wasn't on our list until a couple of hours ago. He's an easy drop for us. I've got 2 more. Nestor Cortez. I'm telling you, I don't think he's worth hanging on to. And I know I'm a little biased when it comes to the Brewers sometimes, but count me out on. And I was never truly in on Nestor Cortez, but count me out. Drop them. There are other starting pitchers. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Let me just say, because in our dynasty league, I did draft him. Okay, and he almost, because I was in Saturday, had a comfortable lead. Then all of a sudden he lost like 21 fantasy points or whatever it was that he did. And then all of a sudden on Sunday, I was in a battle.
Yeah.
So I have a decision to make, and I don't think an overreaction would be to get rid of him. I have not done so yet, but there may be no other reaction to that, but kick him.
The other guy I've got is Kerry Carpenter from Detroit, 47.4% owned currently. He's batting 125 with 1 RBI. He's not an everyday player. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, he's probably not worth having on the roster. But then when he did get to play, he went 1 for 3 against the Dodgers, and then 0 for 4. And then I don't think he's playing. Is he playing? I don't think he's playing. I'm not sure if he's playing today or not. But 1 for 7 and 1 for 8 in the series against the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers are good, but for me, I say, okay, let's go ahead and go out and get somebody else. And I think there's plenty of people to out there right now that Kerry Carpenter is probably not a guy that you need to have on your roster. You got any drops, Kevin?
I do have some, and so the first guy I want to go to is a player that I mentioned specifically on draft night, okay, and that's David Bednar.
Yeah,
of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I put this out on Reddit the other day that David Bednar does not deserve to be on. He does not belong on a fantasy roster. And that was just after Friday, because he faced 3 hitters, didn't get a single one of them out, losing pitcher. Comes out the next day, 3-run lead, gives up a 2-run homer. He got the save, but whoop-de-doo. Okay? So then he went out and was the loser yesterday. He gave up a hit, a stolen base, and the run came around on a wild pitch. So he does not need to be on a fantasy roster. I don't care how it's constructed. I am completely out on him. So ship him over. You can call it overreaction if you want to, but he's got to go. Okay. And so another one is Charlie Morton of the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
Okay. The oldest pitcher in Baltimore Orioles history. Well, yay for him. 3.1 innings.
Seriously?
Yes.
Was Hershiser not pitching there, or was he younger?
No, Horace Hershiser never pitched for Baltimore. He pitched in Cleveland. So, Oldest pitcher in Baltimore history, okay? 3.1 innings, gave up 4 runs on 7 hits, only struck out 3, okay? Don't need him on your roster. And well, another drop, Dodgers, Max Muncy, okay? He's at 49% rostered. He's 1 for 15, no RBIs, 1 run, -4 fantasy points. Okay. Third base is a position that's not deep, but you can do better than that. And Colt Keith, you mentioned Detroit, is the guy that you and I were both high on coming into the season. He's 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts, -3 fantasy points. So I'm ready to move on from him. And that's about all for the drop.
Okay. Yeah, I like them. I like all those drops. Those are good.
We need to emphasize though, because I got taken behind the woodshed last year when you're talking about dropping and picking up, and it's only 1 weekend of the season. We're talking because this is a 10-man league or 10-person league, okay? And it's a fairly, we've got a lot of players available to us. And so if you're in a league that's got 16 people or 20 or whatever it is, then I would advocate not dropping unless it's really serious. So I just want to put that in there so people
I would say this to that. It's definitely easier and wiser to be more active in a smaller league, 10-person, 8-person league. But in the 16-man league, you probably drafted people that there's better people out there than the guys you drafted in the last 4 rounds. So I still think it's good to churn your roster, bottom of your roster around immediately with some guys that are doing things. And then you got to be smart about it. You don't want to get it, oh no, I just lost his name. Washington Nationals outfielder Dylan Cruz.
Okay, I saw that. You're at -3 points. I think it is.
From Dylan Cruz yet?
No.
Like the guys that we brought up already, they're guys that are already the bottom of your roster. So you can move on from those guys, but be wise about who you're cutting. Somebody in one league cut Kyle Schwarber.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And somebody
I don't know where I am on the claims. I claimed him. I don't know if I'm going to get him. I would assume everybody in our league put a claim in on him, except for the person who got rid of him.
That makes no sense because he was actually hitting the ball.
Yeah, but he's only DH eligible. I'm assuming that's why. I don't know, but
you knew that when you drafted
him. I put a claim in. Hopefully, he's mine in the morning. I'm sure other people put a claim in too. So, I just say that to say, don't drop good people just because they're having a bad week.
And I was seeing it on Facebook that someone's asked because somebody dropped Logan Webb. That's insane.
Well, that's stupid.
Okay. You talk about overreaction. Okay. Don't overreact like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into ads. Before we get into real ads, let me mention Wilyer Abreu because on opening day, Wilyer Abreu was on 6% of rosters. 6% of rosters. He is, as of this morning, he was, I think, 53% owned. He's at 57.6%, which I can't believe it's not higher. But he's at 57.6%. In these first few games, he was before today. He pinched hit today, 1 at bat today, but he was batting 700 coming into the day. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 1 stolen base. If he is available in your league, something's wrong. He's done enough in 3 games to be on rosters. He should be more than 57% owned. If he's in your league and he's available, go get him. I don't include him in our ads just simply because we're usually picking guys that are under 25 or 20% as the season goes on, under 10% owned a lot of the times. But Wilyer Abreu should be on a roster. So come on, people, wake up. Go out and get him over there. All right, I got several guys. Kevin, I'm sure you do too. Give me your first one.
So my first one, when we talked about first baseman a moment ago, and so the first guy I'm going to go with is Ryan O'Hearn of the Baltimore Orioles. First baseman at 4.9% rostered, hits in all 4 of his games, first 4 games. He's hit 400, and so it's looking good for him. Baltimore is looking good, and their offense is looking good, and everybody's hitting for them. So at 4.9% He should. You talk about he should be on more rosters. He should be on more rosters than 4.9%.
I agree. I had him on my list too. Yeah. First base eligible, of course, DH, and done it before. Baltimore seems to be hitting the ball well. Yeah, good pickup. Good pickup for sure. Let me throw out there Kyle Manzardo. Still only 19% owned. He's DH only at the moment. I believe he's going to add. Didn't he start at second base? I could be wrong.
Might be. I know he was in the lineup.
Yeah, he's been in the lineup 3 of the 4 games they've played. But nonetheless, Manzardo only 19% owned. He was at I think I wrote it down. I did not write it down. He was at about 6% coming into opening day also. 5.6% on opening day. So he's gone up to 19%. He probably deserves to be higher. He's played in 3 games. He's got 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. If they're going to have him in the lineup regularly, there's no reason for him to be unrostered. He's a good ball player. He's young. He's a star in the making. And Cleveland's a good team. And they play in a division that he's going to be able to hit. So I think Kyle Manzardo should be on a lot more rosters than what he's on right now. And he's probably available in most of your leagues. He did get picked up in our league yesterday, and I just did not need. Especially now that I'm claiming Kyle Schwarber, if I get him, I definitely didn't need a DH on 2 DH only eligible guys. So I like it. I think Manzardo should be on rosters, Kevin.
I agree with that. He was one of the guys that I saw, and last week we talked about veterans that could have significant contributions to their team. One of them that I talked about was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Yeah.
Okay. At 8.1% rostered for Pittsburgh, even though they can't, they lose 3 games by walk-offs.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, but he had hits in 3 out of 4, including 3 stolen bases and 2 RBIs. And he's connected, to several different positions, even though he probably only play shortstop this year, but that does not count because he's got more than that.
Yep.
And so I like that a lot. And if you need some versatility, he's a guy I would go and get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. I like that one a lot. This one pains me, Kevin, but we talked about catchers earlier. And the reality is, unless you got a top catcher, you're going to be rolling through catchers all season long. Right now, one of the hotter hands at the catcher position is the Chicago Cubs, Miguel Amaya. And when you look at him right now in 3 games that he's played, he's 4 for 14, I think it is. He's batting .313.
Yep.
He's got 7 RBIs.
That's right.
No home runs, but 7 RBIs,
and
1
4
run.
doubles.
Yep. And when you look at him, 8% owned in a league where catchers are not tearing the ball or tearing the cover off the ball, he's the guy to go get right now at the catcher position. There's catchers out there that have a bigger name than him. There's not catchers available right now that are hitting the ball better than him. And I think that Miguel Amaya should be on rosters on those teams that waited to draft catcher and didn't get one they love. I think it's time to move on, and this is a good one to go to.
I agree. He's on my list. I got him right here. And so, Broom or however you pronounce his name, from Atlanta is a player you want to get rid of. And this guy could step right into that spot. You'll be much happier with yourself if you could do that. And so last week also, we talked about adding players, pitchers, relief pitchers.
Baldwin, by the way, it's Drake Baldwin.
I'm sorry. Okay, Baldwin. That's right. I turned my page. Okay.
Yeah.
so anyways, so on the Dodgers, I know there's one guy because Blake Trinan is the guy we talked about. You picked him up. He's at 20.9% roster. That's going to go up. He has a save. He has a hold at 0.00 ERA. He's pitched 3 games. If he's not available, which he would not be in our league because you already got him, then we could go with Alex Vesia. He's at 4.4% rostered. He has a hold. He has a save already. 18 fantasy points as a relief pitcher. Okay. So we talked about going and added Dodger relief pitchers. That's just 2 of them right there. And so if you need some, go get them. These guys, Dodger relief pitchers, are going to be stacking up the stats all season long. So you want some of them. I looked and I had like 4 of them on my roster, so I had to cut one. But you want Dodger relief pitchers on your roster.
Yep, I agree. Let me go to the starting pitcher side of things. And we tried to tell everybody the Nationals are going to be decent. And not everybody listened to us. Mackenzie Gore went off, 13 strikeouts. That was awesome. But the guy that I'm talking about is Mitchell Parker. He is only owned in 3% of leagues, and he only went up by 0.8% after his outing the other day. When was that? Yesterday. He went 6.1 innings, allowed 7 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, got the win, got the quality start against the Philadelphia Phillies. So this was not against some slop of a team. Like, he went out and performed. And I know it's not, if you're in a categories league, Mitchell Parker's not for you. But in a points league where he scored 21 fantasy points against the Phillies, this is a guy worth looking at. Now, his next start is Saturday. It's against the Diamondbacks. And my initial reaction might be you might want to hold off to see how that game goes, because matchup-wise is not great. But that being said, I picked him up in a league because it's never bad to have starting pitchers, if you don't have limits, especially, to go snag guys that can give you some innings and get you wins. And Mitchell Parker seems to be that guy. I love what the Nationals, how they look right now. I loved them preseason. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Go back and listen to our AL East preview. You can hear it. But Mitchell Parker is just another guy in a line of young Nationals pitchers that they come through and they're good. And so only being 3% rostered is pretty surprising to me. And I really like Mitchell Parker moving forward.
Yeah, and like you said, against Philadelphia, anything you do against Philadelphia is positive. So I would definitely look out for him. One last player that I do have is Geraldo Perdomo.
Okay.
Over there with Arizona, shortstop. He's at 1.9%. Okay.
Yeah.
Hits all 4 games so far. So 5 RBIs, 2 doubles, a stolen base, and he struck out just 1 time. So shortstop is a deeper position. We talked about that, but if you need help at the position, at 1.9% roster, he's a guy that can help you and help you out a lot. Nobody's clamoring to get him. So if you need somebody on your roster, somebody's hurt or whatever, you need a shortstop, he's the guy I would target.
I like it. My last one's another starting pitcher. He's only rostered in 1.2% of leagues. He pitches for the Sacramento Athletics of Las Vegas, and it's as Osvaldo Bido. And this guy comes in. He went 5 innings against Seattle. He had 4 strikeouts, 4 walks, 1 earned run, allowed 3 hits. He got the win as well, 14 fantasy points in that game. And Bido is a guy I kind of had my eye on coming into the season as a possible streamer with matchups. We know Seattle doesn't have a great offense, but still what he did there was really impressive. Kevin will tell you don't pick him up this week because his next start is at Colorado. I think Colorado stinks. And so I say pitch him this week against Colorado as well. But I think Osvaldo Bido is a guy, I think he's a season-long addition. I don't think he's a streamer. I think he's actually a legit season-long addition for your roster. If you need starting pitcher help, I really like Osvaldo Bido. I picked him up. I started him. I'm starting him again this week. I'm in on Bido. Bido. I'm in on him. Let's do
it. I was looking at him, and I did see that he is, in fact, pitching in Colorado, so I was a little more tentative about him, but there's all the potential in the world with him. And so if there's a chance that you could possibly wait until after that start to get him, maybe not. But I'm in on his talent. So if you want him, get him.
All right. Are you ready for my player to watch?
Okay. I'm sitting back. Go ahead.
There you go. This is not necessarily an addition this week, but this is a guy that's go ahead and put that flag on him. Pay attention to him. Kevin, what is the one position that you and I absolutely love when they add a second position with it?
Catcher.
All right, here you go. Hunter Goodman from the Colorado Rockies. He is eligible. Catcher and outfield. He is going to be an everyday player for Colorado. He started off on opening day against Tampa going 2 for 4. Or 2 for 3, excuse me. 2 for 4, yeah. And it caught my attention a little bit. Day 2, he went 1 for 4 with a run. Day 3, he went 1 for 4 with an RBI. Today, against Philadelphia, he went 1 for 4 with a home run. This is a guy that has catcher eligibility and is going to be on the field all the time. And he actually ended up beating out Jacob Stallings at catcher for Colorado. And that was not the expectation coming into this season. And so he won the job, first of all. He has outfield eligibility, catcher eligibility as well. He started off the season looking pretty decent. And we already talked about that catcher position. If you don't have a top catcher, you're going to be rolling through catchers. So when Colorado's at home, even though I'm for Beto this week, when Colorado's at home, throw Hunter Goodman into the lineup. Give him, if he's going to keep hitting, let the kid hit. And let's see here. Right now, he is at, I should have already read this, 313. He's batting 313 right now. And positive fantasy points in all games, except for yesterday, technically at 0 points. So even with the RBI, had the strikeouts that negated it. So there you go. Hunter Goodman's a guy to watch. We like hitters in Colorado if they're going to hit. And Hunter Goodman's, I think he's one of those guys that's worth keeping an eye on for those with, not great at catcher, or if you need a second catcher, I like that option there too.
That's a great thing. If you've got a Colorado Rocky who's actually hitting, pay attention because eventually, like you said, they'll be home this weekend.
Yeah.
And so go ahead and get them on your team.
And they're playing the A's.
Yeah. And
I like the A's. I think the A's are better. I love the A's yellow uniforms, by the way. I know this is not a
saw that. Yes, I have to say that I did like that.
Yeah. We're paying attention to for sure. All right, Kevin. You writing a profile article this week? What are you doing this week?
I am going to write an article, and it might be along the same lines of player, and then I'll put down whether I think it's a reaction or overreaction.
Okay.
And so I think that's what I'm going to do. And just want to point out again the Baseball Super Show that you and I were both on. We're still not that far into the season. So if you haven't watched that, get over to the Belly Up Sports site and go down the podcast and watch that, because we cover all kinds of, what was it, 6 of us? 5 of us, something like that.
Yeah, it's a bunch.
Yeah, so you get all kinds of opinions about all kinds of different teams. So get over there, check that out. And also, Seahawks Sessions, I was a late addition to that show. And talking about, there was a guy who covers the Seahawks, and he disagreed with the 3 of us that Sam Darnold was a good move and Cooper Kupp was a good move. I like both of those signings, but he explain why he disagreed with that. So if you want to find out more about these signings, get over there and check out the Seahawks Sessions. It's on YouTube right now. And I joined in about 40 minutes into the show. So might want to check that out. And you can always find me on X, Kevin62, WILSEA. You can ask me any question. Very much involved with the MLB Spaces over on X. Over there, so I appreciate those guys, and they keep me honest, and appreciate it.
And Kevin doesn't know this yet. There's a good chance you're going to be seeing Kevin's face for some short clips in the near future. Kevin, I'll talk to you about it as soon as we go off air. Okay. I haven't talked to you about it yet, but I'm sure you'll be happy to do it. So I might be seeing Kevin's face a little bit more around the Belly Up Sports YouTube and socials throughout the season as well. This week, I've got a show coming up Thursday. The Sports Stove football show will air Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And we don't have the lineup set for that show just yet, but obviously off-season stuff. A lot of draft talk going on right now over there. My dad joins me for that show. Then me and Kevin will be back next week to talk baseball, continue with the waiver wire additions, all the latest news. And we'll look at next week, who's for real? What do we know about teams? Who we learned the most about? All that kind of stuff as well. And Kevin, I also think that next week we might look back at our preseason rankings a week and a half into the season and see if there's anything that we would like to take back or
I'm
stand
pretty sure there is.
From those preseason rankings, because we took some criticism on those rankings.
We did.
One comment that we responded to was they said these guys, they never admit when they're wrong, which is not true.
Not true at all.
Are very quick to say, yep, I was wrong on this one. So we'll look at those rankings and next week, and we'll see what we would like to take back and what we are standing firm on those rankings as well.
Yeah, that criticism has no place because, we always are like, well, egg on my face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we've got the proof. The proof is in the pudding.
Well, it is. It's written. It's on video.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to search far to find proof of that. So,
yeah, if you missed any of this episode or missed past episodes, they're available. The video stream is available on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. The audio is available on the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Feel free to drop your comments on your thoughts on our additions and drops and the other things that we covered, overreactions, things like that. Throw your overreactions into the chat as well. We'll be back next week with more fantasy baseball talk. He's Kevin Wilson. I'm Ben Stover. This is the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. And hopefully by next week, the Brewers will not be winless anymore. But we will see. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Everybody have a great week.